Hello everyone and welcome back to part 2 of our F124 preview. Yes, we're back today inside the official F124 game. Of course, once again, a massive thank you to EA for providing me with early access to the new game. If you missed out on yesterday's video, what are you doing? Go back, check it out from Qatar. It was a really interesting one. We learned a lot about the new game, and today we are going to be once again trying to test it to its limits. This time round, we are going to be heading to the Belgian Grand Prix for a full wet race here, racing as Fernando Alonso in cockpit camera. Yes, this is going to be an incredibly immersive one that I can't wait to dive into. So if you're new around here, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well. We're trying to hit 130,000 subscribers at the moment. And yeah, let's head trackside.
We're in the Ardennes countryside at a venue that hosted its first Grand Prix back in 1925. A historic track loved by drivers and fans alike. It is brilliant to be here. A warm welcome from the Belgian Grand Prix. Spa in the rain. It's about the only thing that could make it more challenging and dramatic in this part of the world. We have plenty of heavy braking zones, we have fast corners, we have undulation. It's going to be a challenge at Les Combes, the bus stop chicane, but pretty much everywhere you look out on track. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Sergio Perez will lead us away from pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Oscar Piastri, Sainz, Norris, Hamilton, Russell, Leclerc, Stroll, Bottas, Ocon, Albon, Joe, Hulkenberg, Magnussen, Sargent, Gasly, Ricciardo, Tsunoda, and Fernando Alonso rounds off the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway.
I know you're frustrated to be this far back on the grid, but you've got to keep that under control. Keep a cool head and work your way through the field gradually as you go. It's not all going to be won or lost at the first corner.
Well, as always then, the cockpit of a Formula 1 car feeling incredibly snug, and we have whacked this up to the absolute maximum in terms of the weather conditions this weekend. We have got stormy conditions set to come in later on in the GP. I'm intrigued though to see, what does it reckon? It won't even let me have the option of the intermediate compounded tyres. Not that I think we'd want to use them throughout this race as well then. But 11 laps ahead of us here from the circuit Spa Francorchamps. We've got 5 red lights. It's a mighty long haul, but it is going to be lights out and away we go then. Got to be really careful, of course. We know from that first video, traction in the dry, pretty easy. I've got no idea as to what to expect though as we go into the rain there, as we get pinched down onto that first apex by Yuki Tsunoda. Really trying to roll on the throttle there, but you can be back up at full flat out in just 4th gear then. So yeah, just like in the dry, that seems easier as they were 3 wide into a Rouge. How on earth are those 3 still running there? That was Ricciardo, Sargent, and I believe one of the Haas cars there that somehow made that happen. I've never seen anything like that in the full wet here on this game. But as we make our way up the Kemmel Straight then, of course, this Aston Martin already pretty well known for not having the most top-end speed in the world. As we watch Tsunoda and Sargent both drifting around, so it looks like the AI as well may be affected a little bit more by kind of the new tyre physics as well, which I'm sure is going to only be a good thing, because, you know, we've seen it so many games in years gone by where the AI simply are able to do something you just cannot with the car. One of the things we didn't really get to see much of, though, in Qatar was how sensitive the cars are on apex curbs. They like curbs on the exits of corners. You can really absolutely use all of those. But apex curves, this game they seem to be a lot more sensitive on. So we are going to be careful of that throughout this race, of course. Qatar has got a lot sort of more gentle curbing. Here in Belgium, though, you can already see there as we go through Fanyas, is a lot more difficult. But as the spray getting kicked up, as we make our way through the final couple of corners, we have made 0 progress on lap 1. Once again, though, we are up against those ultimate AI and still trying to just kind of gain more knowledge about how the cars handle on this game as well there. So yeah, not expecting to be able to move through the order particularly quickly today. Blanchimont, though, completely flat out despite these stormy conditions. if I was a little bit braver. And yeah, you can see the brakes though. They definitely seem far more responsive than they were inside F123 in the wet conditions there. The car seems to aquaplane less, which I feel like, yeah, is going to make driving in the rain a lot easier. Why on earth would Tsunoda brake that early? Right, we'll try that again then on Yuki Tsunoda. Now I'm aware that he's going to brake about 100 metres too early in towards that first corner. And, well, now we have completed the move then in this GP. Yeah, traction though still, just like we saw in the drive, very, very easy to come by. You can really mash your foot down very, very early on and find a lot of grip there, as you can see the car moving around though up for a ROUGE and Radion. But yeah, we're running a lot more downforce than I think the AI are around this circuit. I don't know sort of how much they adapt their setup for wet conditions, but yeah, we are gaining a lot through ROUGE and Radion. Well, as mentioned then in that Qatar video, it's a very, very sensitive with the steering lock on this year's game. You can see throughout most of the corners here, we really aren't using much rotation at all. It is working, trying to get the front end dialed in. But yeah, it's certainly a very, very different driving style. Honestly, to me, I mean, through there, yeah, you've got to just absolutely wham on the lock and try and get on with it. But honestly, to me, with how good these cars are on the traction as well, obviously it's not, but it almost feels like driving a front-wheel drive. You've got to be really, really careful about the rotation. But obviously on a front-wheel drive car, you just get dragged along off a corner, so you can just mash your foot to the floor. And that's pretty similar to how you want to drive this car in this game. Spa, though, I must admit, obviously I was very, very lucky to be here just a couple of weeks ago. Looks very good. I believe it might be, it's definitely got some sort of laser scan implemented into it. I don't know, obviously, I don't think the curbs and things like that are. But yeah, they've certainly implemented these changes to the Spa Francorchamps circuit very well. And finally, this track feels much closer to how it does in real life. Well, with the exception of the MFD as well, obviously, we've got all the HUD options disabled ready for this race, so you really do sort of get a very, very immersive experience as well. I would like to do more cockpit cam gameplay videos inside F124. Maybe do an entire series with it. Down the inside of Ricciardo, though, from a long way back. Tiny bit of contact between myself and the Australian, but we should be able to complete the move. Try and put the power down back around the outside, and we will get it hooked up using that ridiculous amount of traction you've got. Whether it's accurate or not to real life, it certainly feels much easier than recent games.
Bad weather doesn't look like it's going anywhere. Heavy rain conditions throughout the session.
Let's not forget what has got to be the most unrealistic aspect of this race, though. There's no chance in any world that Formula 1 would actually race here with this much rain pelting down on the circuit. So I guess we can be happy that the game at least allows us to do that without calling a red flag.
Right, the gap to the teammate ahead of us, 6.4 seconds.
Too busy looking at what Mark was going to tell me. Down the inside of Pierre Gasly down at turn 1. That one was a little bit more sketchy than I'd ever intended, but luckily now you get a little bit more space on the inside of that first corner. Please don't say we're going to go side by side up into a ROUGE. Yes, we are! Gasly wanted to try and pinch me, but we refused to back out of it. And that will probably be the scariest overtake I ever do on this game. Cockpit camera in the rain, side by side at ROUGE, but we made it work. There was no contact made either. So I guess we can count ourselves rather lucky. And we gained the place. Well, it's a shame there doesn't still feel like there's any kind of aquaplaning or anything like that. You see, we'll run over in all the puddles, making our way up the back straight. So there's definitely, you know, it's far, far easier to race in the rain on this game than I would assume it is to do it in real life still. Which is a little bit of a shame, because of course wet weather racing is kind of one of the things that is absolutely exploding in the sim racing at the moment, due to obviously various other sims now having access to it. But yeah, clearly I think obviously EA Code is not too interested in implementing that. How badly, with all those front lockups, am I destroying the front tyres? Not at all. The full wet tyres here will absolutely take a beating. We're already halfway through this race. Yeah, certainly hasn't been as action-packed as the other one, as we'll try and get a run on Hulkenberg. This seems to be the one place on the lap I can try and make moves on the AI. We'll have a look to the inside of Nico. We've got to try and stay alongside him, though. Have any kind of space into the braking zone.
We're clearing a lot of water, but let's stick with this tyre for the time being. Moving on to the inters now is just asking to be spun off.
Okay, Mark, we won't comment about the move I just made. We'll talk about moving to an intermediate tyre. I mean, it's no surprise, is it, at this point, of course, the graphics. You know, you have got to give EA and Cody's credit. These games do always look stunning as well. I know, obviously, it's not the most important thing when it comes to the driving experience, but, you know, you absolutely feel immersed doing this at the moment.
The car ahead, but remember, we need to get to the end of the race on these tyres.
Maybe going for a bit more battery than I really should have been, but I'll let you guys listen into a lap's worth of audio just so you kind of get to hear everything from cockpit camera, because it does sound very different to the T-cam we did in the last race.
No issues with tyre wear for now. Keep taking care of them.
Oh, I was gutted. That lap was so good up until we got to the bus stop there, but a little bit of a mistake right at the end of it. We're getting closer and closer to the sub-2 minute lap times, but I don't think we're going to have enough grip to try and achieve it towards the end, unless the track conditions are steadily just improving more and more. But 4 laps to go, including this one. Once again, you know, obviously the AI, they're not finalised anything like that in terms of their performance. But it seems that, yeah, but Haas and Alpine, as well as VCarb, seem to fall back a lot more behind Williams and Kick Sauber, which has kind of been the opposite of what's happened in real life 2024. So I'm hoping that does get adjusted. Obviously, when the full game comes out, maybe I've just been a little bit unlucky with the races I've done. But, you know, you're sort of thinking Qatar, you know, those Kick and Williams cars were battling for the final point. Obviously, none of them have scored so far IRL in 2024. But, yeah, that obviously not the biggest concern at the end of the day. What I'm more worried about is trying to get past Kevin Magnussen's. I mean, through there, you can really chuck the front end in. Like I said, this game, the front end is so pointy. It is very odd to try and get used to, of course, especially when, you know, you can have any kind of slip up and you will immediately pay the price. So it is certainly very different to try and get used to. You can see, I mean, how little steering lock you're using most of the time around this venue, and you're able to get the bite where you need it and everything like that. So it's tucked up now in the DRS, sorry, in the slipstream even, of Kevin Magnussen late on in this race. Are we going to be able to make anything happen up towards the bus stop? We're still a little way back. We braked earlier than I expected, though. A Kevin Magnussen style move on Kevin Magnussen. And we get a Kevin Magnussen style defense as well there. A little bit of contact on the exit. That was probably my fault. But yeah, with 3 laps to go then, we are having the battle of the day until I completely misjudged my braking point there at turn 1. And then you're met with the understeer. And you can just see, yeah, you get that little bit of bog down. You know, obviously too high gear not enough speed there, and it really does compromise you. Well, let's try then hot lap mode for the first time on this game. Sort of see what that does to try and help with the battery usage. See, inside the car it's saying overtake mode, so I don't know if it's like an overtake mode or whether it's slightly less extreme or what. Either way, it's given me a really, really good run on Kevin Magnussen up onto the Kemmel Straight. Magnussen, I mean, come on, you can't keep moving around all over the show, mate. You got to pick one line and stick to it. Are we going to be able to have a look down the inside? Yes, we just are there. And oh, Magnussen! Okay, he was prepared to hop over the curbs there to try and hang on to the position. And again, very, very Magnussen-esque defending. Fernando Alonso, though, I'm sure he would have probably given him the room in real life, but we've made the move happen. And yeah, you can just see there, you get a little bit off the line. You just induce a bit more understeer into the car, and the back end gives up before the front. You start getting understeer from the front end, and then a bit of oversteer from the back end. So it does mean, you know, if you overstep that mark, it is very, very difficult. And I think that's going to be one of the big things, you know, when you're racing this year, is trying to actually keep the car in that window, which might be a little bit of a shame. And when you think about it in the bigger picture, because of course it might end up meaning that you're not pushing the car as hard as you feel like you could, especially obviously with the tyre wear in the dry conditions. But one more lap after this one then, here from the Ardennes, you can just see, yeah, we're definitely starting to struggle just a little bit with grip as the car tries to break free, making its way out up Stavelot. But yeah, the Spa circuit though, I must admit, I think they've done a really, really good job. Of course, you know, a lot of the environment around the circuit already, so you can just see that, maybe overstepping the mark in first gear as we try to put the power down. One more lap though in this Grand Prix, and once again, we're not going to make as much progress as I would hope we would, but you know, we are learning and trying to make sure that we are getting kind of the full experience that F124 has to offer as well. They're down in towards ROUGE and running on for the final time. Definitely is still worth downshifting on the way in there. Just try and get the front end pointed and obviously try and carry that speed and the extra revs up onto the Kemmel Straight. Still don't really kind of get the sensation that this straight obviously is so uphill.
3.3 seconds.
You don't kind of realise it, I think, when you watch this race on TV, but it is such a big uphill section. Whoa! Okay. So yeah, you can definitely throw the car around a bit, get it to do some slides, especially as the tyres starting to wear off ever so slightly. But not actually costing us any time there. Still up in the green. Definitely starting to lose a little bit though. But yeah, I believe it is the Red Bulls that are still at the front of the field. We'll get confirmation of that in just a moment. I mean, I'm not a betting man, but if I was, it would probably be that Max Verstappen has taken the win here, but it was Sergio Perez that did get the pole, as you're definitely noticing more and more slide coming from the back end towards the end of this GP. So yeah, it certainly does feel like the tyres kind of move around on the block still with the actual grip and kind of the dynamic setting of that grip, you know, with just the way it kind of evolves over the course of a race. But up and towards the final couple of corners though, trying to drain the battery one final time. We're actually not that far away from the winner, unless they've kind of already crossed the line and we're just not getting any information about it. Through the bus stop chicane we go though. It is going to be P14 in the end. Here is Fernando Alonso. I'm happy, when you exclude that one incident with Yuki, that we kept that pretty clean.
Yeah, everything was on the wrong side today.
Clearly Fernando disagrees with me.
What a drive! What a driver! Sergio Perez takes the checkered flag!
They led from lights out to the flag at the end, and their race victory was never in doubt, was it? Brilliant stuff by them.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for the next one.
Well, there we are then. Sergio Perez does take the win here in Belgium. No one, though, interestingly, able to get under 2 minutes after the race here today. But 22 seconds off in the end. Yeah, we struggled a little bit early on to try and get some pace out of the car there. But that was, once again, a really, really enjoyable GP. Daniel Ricciardo at some point retired, and I didn't even realise as well there. But thank you all so much, as always, for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed. Again, if you've got any questions, please make sure to ask them down in the comments below, and I will try and answer as many of you as I possibly can. But yeah, that's going to be it for this one, and we'll be back very soon with more F1 24 gameplay.